second. All right. Well, welcome everyone to our, I believe, fourth or fifth Facebook Live event for this year as we lead up to RAC's 2026 International Reflexology Conference in May. I am so delighted to be joined with Catriona and Ollie Plunkett from Golden Egg Holistic all the way across the pond in Ireland, who will be coming live and in person to Winnipeg in May to teach us all about sound reflexology. Thank you so much, Catriona and Ollie, for joining with me today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
So, wanted to give everyone a bit of an introduction. In your own words, what is sound reflexology?
Okay, so I think I'll let Ollie, and we're probably most people watching are aware of reflexology and what reflexology is, but maybe not sound. So let Ollie start there.
Okay, so reflexology, sound therapy is a complementary modality. So it operates on the basis that everything in the human body vibrates at a frequency. So all of the trillions of cells in our human body vibrate at a frequency, all of our organs vibrate at a frequency, and everything out in nature that surrounds us vibrates at a frequency. But sometimes our organs in our body or our cells don't vibrate at their optimum frequency. And so how sound therapy works, we bring in an external frequency by using Tibetan bowls or by using tuning forks. And the cells in the human body then is called entrainment, where they kind of copy the vibrational frequency of the external source and get back into their optimal or their original frequency that we're at. So the experience that people would have when they experience that is a sense of reconnecting back into themselves and feeling more at ease or at one. But I suppose the positive outcome from people that receive the treatment is that, which I think we see most, is that it brings about self-healing for the individual. So the body begins to, when it gets into that more balanced state, begins to heal itself. And so people that might be anxious or that might be suffering from stress or have multiple other ailments, that kind of healing happens. The other piece where it works really well, I think, if you look at the body being made up of a lot of different systems, your nervous system and digestive system and lymphatic system, all the different systems, I think how sound works really well. It helps those systems to integrate better with each other when they've gone a little bit out of skin with each other. I think the vibration helps them to get back into harmony with each other. So that's really the effect of it.
And is there an optimal frequency for the body to be at? Is it like, the A above middle C, if you're thinking music is, vibrates at 440 hertz? Is there an optimal vibration that...
I suppose that in terms of, oftentimes when we're doing sound, we talk about tuning the body.
Okay.
And I'm also a musician, so when I think about sound, I kind of think of sometimes when people come in that are not healthy, that are out of tune from a musical perspective. So if you think of it from an orchestra, if you went to see an orchestra and someone in the orchestra was playing out of tune, I like to see the human body as if there's an organ or a cell that's not vibrating at its correct frequency, is kind of out of tune or out of sync with the other organs. But getting back to your point, again, when we look at the chakra points, we kind of work when we're healing the body from the root chakra, kind of up along, and the root chakra will be the key of C. So you have C, D, E, F, G, and up to A. So in a way, you're kind of tuning the body through that scale.
Okay.
But again, the different organs and different cells, there's no exact frequency for the body, even though we have frequencies like 432, which again is the frequency that when people kind of resonate with, define the harmony with it, and that's a frequency that's out in nature that people kind of feel an affinity with.
And how did you get into sound therapy? Now, I know, Catriona, you're a reflexology therapist. Ollie, I believe you're the sound therapist. Do I have that correct? How
Yeah,
did
yeah, yeah.
how did you get into sound therapy?
Okay, so I suppose I have been playing music with lots of different bands and writing and playing music, but then we actually built a recording studio, and because we were recording in different studios, and we decided that it would be good to build our own studio. But in the process of building the studio, I began to learn how sound behaved, internally in the building. So there was lots of different things that we had to have in the studio, like reflective surfaces and absorbent surfaces and diffusion surfaces.
Right.
So through that kind of process, I began to think, well, if the sound operates in that way in the studio, it also has that kind of impact on the human body. So I started kind of getting more, I suppose, interested in it, and then start studying it in more detail. So,
And how did you connect with reflexology? Catriona, was it you who started to tinker or like start integrating sound into your reflexology?
Yeah, I suppose it was something we developed over time. Because you're always working with different, reflexology is changing all the time, isn't it? And
Yeah.
there's so many different types of reflexology, and there's like people use different tools, and it just seems like a natural progression. Both of us were interested in. Only that's his favorite therapy would
mm,
be outside of sound would be reflexology, and mine outside of reflexology would be sound. So yeah, I just went about combining the two really, and they just combine really beautifully. And you can use different instruments. There's a lot of different combinations that you can use with the tuning forks, different frequencies,
Hmm.
and with the bowls. It can be a standalone treatment, or you can just integrate it into your own treatment as the opportunity arises, or as you feel like a reflex needs more energy, kind of more. I describe it as infusing the reflexes with sound, and it just has really. You have to experience it, I think, to understand it, because it just it feels completely different, doesn't it,
I
than
think
your
so.
reflexology treatment.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a lovely combination of therapies.
The other way to understand sound can be if you throw a little pebble into a pond,
Okay.
and all those concentric waves that go out from the middle. So likewise, because our body is made up of 70% water, but when you're putting in the vibration in, that vibration travels around the body, so it finds its way where it needs to go. And I think going back to Katrina's point, we work on the hand where the meridian points in the hand, but also the feet. So sometimes when we do it, if the reflexology isn't getting there near the end, a little bit of sound vibration can add to that and bring the results that you're trying to achieve.
Now, many other cultures around the world use sound as part of their healing, as part of their medical uh, I don't want to say system, but experience. I'm just thinking of like in India or Southeast Asia, where this, from my understanding, sound is actually quite common in terms of getting someone well, or if someone is sick, using sound as part to help them get better. Have you taken any inspiration from other cultures, bring in terms of developing your sound reflexology?
Yeah, I suppose in research for it, most other kind of civilizations around the world, some stage have used sound. So if you look at the Aboriginal people in Australia, they would have used the Yidaki or didgeridoo, and again,
Okay.
the frequency that would come from that was known to bring about healing. Again, in ancient Egypt, they had an instrument which people didn't realize what it was, but it was a sistrum, which was a little kind of a metal thing that had a series of little pieces of metal that hung from it. And when that was shaken, it gave off a range of frequencies that is similar to our current ultrasound. So going back to Egyptian times, they knew that the effect that sound vibration had, and also they accept now that some of the temples they used to infuse sound into vibration to some of the temples, and their understanding was when the person was leaving this world that they were going to go to the next world with this like with this beautiful vibration that was going to bring them on that journey.
Lovely.
And again, in our tradition in Ireland, we were kind of have a Celtic tradition, but again, we would have traditionally have a lot of our celebration and our healing would be centered around sound. And again, I suppose with the Native American people, again, where they would have kind of either maybe through dance or through sound, again, but use that to bring about healing as well. So I think there's very few cultures in the world that haven't embraced it. But some people, maybe nowadays, it's getting more popular to think it's just some new phenomenon, but it has been around a long time.
As my mother would say, there's nothing new under the sun. It seems like it just always comes back. So you're coming to our conference in May, and you're going to be speaking during the weekend for 90 minutes on Introduction to Sound Reflexology. For those people who are interested in going to your seminar, could you give us a little bit of a taste of what you'll be discussing, teaching during that seminar?
I suppose we want to, for anybody who hasn't used sound with reflexology before, is to introduce them to combining the two modalities and the two therapies, and to demonstrate how they can use it, and so they can learn some techniques as well. It's completely new for a lot of people. We've had a lot of students that maybe would use their sound therapists and their reflexologists, but they've never combined the two before. Just to give people a taste of what they can do with sound in their reflexology treatment. So we're really looking forward to it.
Excellent. And then afterwards, you're going to be doing a 1-day, more comprehensive workshop on sound reflexology. And for those who are interested in that, what will they come away with from your post-conference workshop?
Well, I think they'll experience the sound reflexology treatment.
Like a full.
So we'll bring them through the different stages and where you might place either the bowls on the body or use these tuning forks on the body. And I think the best way to for people to understand is to experience it. So when people experience it through the workshop, then from all of the workshops we've done to date, there's always a kind of a eureka moment where people kind of think, this is fantastic, this is something that I want to continue to do because they get the experience of it themselves. So I suppose that's what we'll be trying to do. And again, we'll be answering if people have any questions around the origins of sound, or sometimes people will ask, where can I get the equipment, or what's the best equipment to get, or can I use it in these types of circumstances, or whatever. So we'll be answering all of those questions. Yeah.
And why bowls versus tuning forks, or both? Why are those the instruments to help generate the vibrations?
Okay, so when we do sound therapy, in the most part, we use Tibetan bowls, which if you can see here, this is one here at the moment. So sometimes when people purchase bowls, when they come to a sound therapy training, they've already purchased some bowls, but they've got them from some place that sells maybe instruments that could be nice for your house. They might get bowls that are not really therapeutic bowls, they're just sound bowls, but they're not really, they haven't got a frequency in them that's effective. So the really good bowls, the therapeutic bowls, they give off overtones. So you get the initial tone and another tone and another tone and another tone, and it's the combination of a sequence of overtones that provide a range of frequencies that will help find a frequency with the human body that can match with it. So that's where it works really well. So the bowls in sound therapy are placed on the different chakra points, but in relation to sound reflexology, we use them on specific points in the body, on the feet and on the hands, and we use the tuning forks and the bowl. The tuning forks are probably easier to carry around. They don't give out as big overtones as the Tibetan bowl, but they're still effective. And if you can see at the end of the tuning fork here, when you place it on a particular kind of part of the body to resonate or vibrate in that part, and you can feel underneath it on the organ or on that part of the body, you can feel the vibration. The tuning fork that we bring with us and that we specify is a key of 1 to 8, which is kind of the lower kind of C. So the reason why we picked that, because it has a stronger vibration. If you get a higher frequency, the vibration isn't felt on the body as significant, whereas this one you can feel the vibration more. So that's why we went with the 1 to 8 as opposed to, but you can use a range of frequencies for different parts of the body. So if you were going for more the upper part of the body, you might use higher frequencies, because again they will be more for kind of tune different parts of the body, the heart or the throat chakra or the crown chakra or whatever.
And does it work similar in terms of like lower frequencies, lower part of the body, higher frequencies, higher? Okay.
Absolutely. So in a way, the best way to understand that is that if you hear a big bass sound,
Mm-hmm.
it's normally a big wave that's coming towards you, so it's a sound wave. And if it's a big bass sound, there's only probably one big wave and another big wave. That means it's a lower frequency because there's only be, like if you say a frequency of 128, that means there's 128 big waves coming at you per second.
Okay.
But if you think something that is, 3,000 of a frequency, that means there's 3,000 little waves coming at you, and they're normally very high pitched. So the bigger wave coming at you, you'll feel it. So if you go into a nightclub and there's someone kind of playing, music that has a bass frequency, you'll feel it in your knees, you'll feel that movement. But if you hear something that's very high, you won't hear it necessarily. The lower part of your body, you'll hear it in your ears, in the higher part.
So all the dancing we did in our youth was good vibrations for our body.
Good vibrations.
Another part of our conference is talking about the integration of reflexology into the larger healthcare field, larger healthcare system. Music therapy has already, I don't know how it is in Ireland, but here in North America, music therapy has become quite common for a bunch of different ailments, and helping kids learn how to speak or express themselves, helping the elderly with movement, with dementia, with also with rehabilitation after strokes, things like that. We've got music therapists. Do you see, in your opinion, like sound reflexology fitting into the same sphere as music therapy, or does it work alongside it? I guess kind of put it into context and how this could be integrated into like the larger healthcare system.
Okay, so maybe it's slightly different. In Ireland, we have sound therapy, but then we have music therapy.
Okay, yeah.
In Ireland, music therapy is slightly different to sound therapy. So music therapy is where we would use the medium of sound to help people to maybe resolve underlying issues that they've had. It's like psychotherapy, which are using like either a medium to allow a person to address those issues. Sound therapy is different. Sound therapy is just a healing modality that we place the balls on the body and it brings about healing. Whereas the music therapy in our country, in terms of how it progresses in our country, it's a 4-year college program.
Okay.
Where people get trained to work with people that I suppose have a difficulty in expressing unresolved issues, and then through the abstract medium of sound, they can kind of work in there. So it's like using paint or using drawing or using any of those mediums. They can go in and help people to work with unresolved issues. But we do use sound therapy in dementia units. We use sound therapy post-stroke. So the sound therapy element is used in our hospitals, and a wide variety of settings to bring about healing.
Yeah, and it's certainly becoming more widely used, isn't it?
Yeah. So we have a lot of consultants in Ireland. I presume you might have similar that maybe in the past would have looked at kind of healing modalities. They may not have had the same respect for them, in the past. But I think that's changing, and I think the good thing is that people that are now delivering those different modalities are probably better at explaining what it is they are and what it is they do. Whereas sometimes I think maybe the challenge would be that people maybe weren't providing the right information to people that more have a science background. Mm-hmm. So if you look at a consultant that spent 10 or 12 years training, and then you're coming in with sound therapy and you're telling them it's going to bring these amazing results, they're thinking, why did I spend 12 years in college learning about my particular area when you're going to come in with this modality that's going to bring around these very effective outcomes,
But it's very much a complementary therapy that works hand in hand. It's not alternative. Yeah, it's not a this or that. It's very much complementary, just like reflexology.
No, I think that wording is really important to the working alongside. Ollie, you mentioned like people who have the more scientific background. One of the things we're always trying to encourage is conversations with more, traditionally trained healthcare professionals to see no one's trying to replace you. We want to work alongside you. Things like sound therapy, reflexology can support your clients, support people's healing journeys. So
and nowadays you get a lot of referrals coming from hospitals or from maternity units or from consultants. So some consultants, are beginning to refer to these type of therapies now. They understand the benefits of them. So.
And I think that's important for everyone to people listening to kind of have in the back of their mind. Oftentimes, when you're doing additional training or getting additional, protocols, it's you get them, but then you don't know necessarily where to find clients, or you don't know who this is best used for, and just getting people to think that, if sound therapy is becoming more used in certain centers, like you mentioned with dementia or with the elderly, those could be potential places to go and explain how this could benefit those client groups, if that makes sense. Last question or start wrap up. If someone is interested, starting to get interested in sound reflexology, sound therapy, not quite sure where to start, where would you recommend they might go, or to start getting information, start learning?
I suppose we only teach sound reflexology to qualified reflexology practitioners, so it's not something we would teach as a standalone modality. So it's a postgraduate for reflexology therapists, because you'd have to understand where the reflexes are, and it's so it's very much a postgraduate for reflexologists.
So if a reflexology therapist was interested in kind of maybe starting to learn a little bit more about sound and integrating it in with reflexology, do you have a recommendation, or a sort of like where would someone start, or what would someone Google?
I suppose there's lots of books out there on sound therapy, and is there any particular books you would recommend?
There's a good book that's by God rest him, he's now deceased, Mitchell Gaynor. He's a consultant. He was an oncology consultant in the Mayo Clinic.
Okay.
And so he had a kind of a fascination. He actually went on a visit to India or Nepal at some stage, and he saw how sound was being used quite frequently in that part of the world, and he had a fascination for maybe informing himself and getting a bit more educated around it, and see could he bring something back and integrate it into his own practice. So he wrote a very kind of enlightening book around with his cancer patients, how he used sound and how he started kind of in a minimal way, but then kind of progressed to use it more substantially as part of the treatment. So I suppose in one sense that can be useful for someone that comes from a clinical background, because I think sometimes people that come from a clinical background nearly want a clinician or a person with a clinical background to explain that they have seen it, they've experienced it, and then they can kind of take it on board that way. There's lots of other consultants, from a clinical background, Oliver Sacks, and there's a lot of information out there at the moment around the benefits of it and to explain it. So maybe just do a little bit of kind of research on it, and you can find information. At the moment as well with sound, I think really most countries in the world, or most areas, I'm sure, have kind of sound therapy training that's going on. So it might kind of differ slightly from some kind of countries to the other, but in the general sense, I think it's all about using vibration to bring about healing. So.
And a lovely introduction to sound, I think sound therapy, is to go to a sound meditation or sound bath class. That's a lovely way to experience sound. So we'd often recommend that to, if students were looking to train as sound therapists, but weren't really aware of how sound works, we would definitely recommend, either to have a sound therapy treatment, one-on-one, placing goals on the body, or to go to a sound meditation or sound bath, as it's often known as, and just to experience sound, yourself. And then I suppose the reflexology is just that kind of more specific. You're really infusing the reflexology, radian points, murmur points on the hands, the feet, with sound. So there's different ways to experience sound, isn't there? I suppose sound meditation, a class would be a more generic introduction, and then your sound therapy and your sound reflexology are more specific. Yeah.
Sometimes people as well, when they start sound therapy training, they get confused between music and sound. They kind of think, okay, I listen to music and it has this effect on me, whereas with sound, it's more putting in a vibration in the body rather than an emotional response to music that you're hearing. So a lot of the emotional response is through melody, where you're hearing a melody and you're kind of carried away, you're carrying off with that melody, which you find pleasing. Whereas in sound therapy, it's not a melody; it's just a tone and a series of tones that are emanating from that tone. So sometimes people, mightn't be aware of that. They might be coming in thinking the sound therapist is going to play some lovely CDs or some classical music. The classical music and all that can be played as part of a sound bath or which is kind of different. The sound bath can bring about relaxation, but it mightn't necessarily be. It would be the same as the sound therapy, where you place the bowls on the body and bring in more specific vibration.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to let people know who may be on the fence to come and hear you guys speak, or anything like to, what are you most looking forward to when you come to Canada later this year?
We're just looking forward to everything. We haven't been to Canada before, so we're so excited. And I suppose if people are interested, they're not sure if they want to attend the course, the one-day course that we're doing after the conference, to come along to the seminar and just get an introduction and see and hear about sound reflexology, maybe experience it, and just to enjoy it. We're really excited. Yeah.
The one thing I always say is that when people experience it, it always brings about this kind of change for them, and they always want to get more.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes when we're doing the sound reflexology, you can just see the people's faces kind of, lighting up because they've got the experience of it. So I'd say, give it a go.
Oh, well, thank you guys both so much for sharing your knowledge and your passion for sound and integrating it with reflexology. We're so excited to welcome you to Canada for the first time in May. If anyone who's listening is interested, Catriona and Ollie will be here. They'll be doing seminar number 3, Introduction to Sound Reflexology, on Saturday, May 23rd. And then this will be followed by a one-day workshop to get the full protocol, understanding of sound reflexology on Monday, May 25th, here in Winnipeg as well. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in May.
Thanks, Dora. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.